We all have defining moments, and maybe we'll have a series of them. Probably one of the greatest defining moments was the day that I was going to buy Wallace & Hines. I was prepared for the sale, but I wasn't prepared mentally. I'm somewhat superstitious, and so I put on my lucky shirt, and I put on my lucky socks, I even put on my lucky underwear, and I went out, and I had to do a few errands in the morning. The meeting was at 1 o'clock. I drove to Eureka. I was totally prepared, but I was off balance. I was nervous. I drank too much coffee. I dry mouth. I was not with my game, and I knew I was in trouble. I was on the phone. I was driving back from Eureka, and I was talking to my brother on the phone. And the oddest thing is, while I'm talking to him on the phone, I look at a car that was passing me up, and the car drives off the freeway at 60 miles an hour, and it shoots down through the barbed wire fence over the field, and it hits a ditch, and it goes up into the air. The car literally goes up in the air and crashes in a ditch. I saw that, and I had to hang up, and I was in a panic situation. I ran down to the car, and the guy, there was a man in there who was pale white, eyes staring. I thought he was dead. I forgot all about the sale. I forgot all about getting somewhere on time at my 1 o'clock meeting. Now I'm just focused on this guy who died. His car, there's mud shooting up, smoke shooting up, and then now I'm sure it's a car fire. And I get there, you know, and I'm banging, trying to get him out, but the door's locked and the windows are up, and I don't know what to do. It's deep in the ditch, and I didn't want to get muddy because I'm all dressed up in the best of everything I own. So I call the CHP, and I tell them just get an ambulance here. And while I'm talking to him, it turns out the guy's alive. And he turns out and he looks at me with the strangest look, and he turned back and he was still frozen. And I panicked, and I jumped on the hood, and I slid in the mud, and I had mud up to my knees, and I was soaking wet. Finally the CHP came, and they hauled the guy out, and they took him away. Now I had to go back to my meeting. But I was soaking wet, and I smelled bad because it was the mud from the Arcata bottoms. I went back into the meeting, and now I was a little bit irritable, and I was still thinking about this accident, and we had to step right into negotiations immediately. But I wasn't real warm and fuzzy, and so I started negotiating fairly hard, and I became somebody who I really wasn't. And at the end of the meeting, Don said, "Wow, what got into you?" I mean, I was really hard in those negotiations. And I had to tell him, it was no offense, Don, but I'm soaking wet and I smell bad. And I literally had to take my shoe off and wring it out because there was so much water. And I said, "Don, my feet are wet. And they've been wet this whole time. And I hate having my feet wet." And I always say that defining moment because I had done everything right. I hadn't planned on an accident, but when I was going into the meeting, I don't know what the negotiation would have been like. I would have paid far more, I would this and that, all the things that become part of a business sale. But my feet were wet, and that's all I could think of. You can be as prepared as you want, but life happens. And that defining moment, an accident, changed everything, changed my life.